This was a story that was very well documented in the UK at the time, but tell us a little bit more for our European audience about Shamima Begum.
Yes, it did cause a lot of shock and consternation at the time, and I think part of it was we saw the picture there that was taken on CCTV camera at cameras at Gatwick Airport, and these three schoolgirls from East London were captured getting on a flight to Istanbul, and it's then thought that they crossed the border into Syria, having told their families they were just going on a day trip. Now, this was at the time when ISIS was at the height of its power, having established its caliphate in parts of Iraq and Syria. Now, of those two other schoolgirls, one is thought to have been killed in an airstrike in Raqqa in 2016. The Times newspaper has now tracked down Shamima Begum to a refugee camp in northern Syria. She's gone there having fled Baghouz, which was the last stronghold of ISIS that's now been attacked by majority Kurd forces. She's been giving details of her life under ISIS in Raqqa, where she lived with a Dutch husband who'd converted to Islam. Now, at one stage, he was apparently jailed and tortured by ISIS. Even so, she describes her life as relatively normal, despite the fact that she says there were bombs going off here and there. She gave details of what she'd witnessed, but says when she saw her first severed head in a bin, it didn't faze her at all. She's criticised ISIS for its corruption and its oppression, which she says was a shock, but she's not repentant. She says, "I don't regret coming here." She wants to return to the UK. The reason is, she says she's 9 months pregnant and she wants to protect her unborn child, because she says that she'd lost her first two children. They died, at least one of them, due to malnutrition. So she simply says she wants to come back to the UK to live quietly with her child.
And of course, it opens up enormous questions about the difficulties of how European countries and Western countries deal with the return of fighters who have gone to Syria to fight with ISIS, doesn't it?
Yes, it's a very difficult question for the authorities, and of course a very emotive question as well. When the trio left the UK, there was a counter-terrorism investigation, but the police then said there'd be no terrorism charges unless there's evidence that specific crimes had been committed. And although they had gone to be ISIS brides, there was no evidence they'd taken part in fighting. Now, membership of ISIS is a crime and can carry a jail term of 6 months. The UK Security Minister, Ben Wallace, has been talking. He says that returnees will be investigated by the police, but that the authorities need to know, have offences been committed, and are they still likely to pose a threat, or should they, as some say, be seen as victims? One counter-extremism think tank, Quilliam, has said, well, they broke the law in 2015 as minors. They should be treated as minors, perhaps prosecuted as minors, and have due process under the UK, the British law.